But my review really isn't based on the undercurrents or the things that happen in the movie and the acting and the directing. My take on this is how should you experience Black Widow if you haven't already? And I would say absolutely positively, if you can, go to a theater. What's good, everybody, and welcome back to Whole Views. Today we're going to be talking about Black Widow, right? So subscribe to the channel, help me to continue to grow. We're over 500. Help us to keep pushing towards 6, 7, 8, 1,000. It'll be great. So this review is going to be focused around something a little bit different from others because I don't have a full breakdown and all the little points and things that people make about these movies. But I do have a strong recommendation based on my own viewing experience, and I want to share that and how that viewing experience helped shape my outlook on the film. Black Widow was a great entry into the MCU. I did not feel it was necessary at its announcement. I did not feel it was needed or something the fan base was clamoring for, throughout its promotional period. Even after getting pushed back due to COVID and everything else, I still didn't feel like Black Widow was the one that everyone really wanted to see. I thought it was just going to be like a relatively mundane entry with a powered down villain and no real stakes, and hearing some stories about Natasha Romanoff and the things she had been through in between films. While it is relatively lower stakes than what we're used to seeing the world being saved, galaxies being saved, the universe being saved, people being brought back into existence and things like that. It was lower stakes than that, but it did kind of tackle a relatively socially relevant issue as far as like sex trafficking, the kidnapping of girls, the safety of women. Like, all that stuff is super important. And even though this movie didn't necessarily dive deep into those aspects of the real world version of those aspects, it does kind of overall represent how frail and how fragile and how vulnerable our women are, and how they're being like taken advantage of and used for nefarious purposes. So I felt like that was it was an undercurrent that kind of shined through if you were looking for it. But my review really isn't based on the undercurrents or the things that happen in the movie and the acting and the directing. My take on this is how should you experience Black Widow if you haven't already? And I would say absolutely positively, if you can, go to a theater. Well, this isn't a criticism of the movie being bad, but when you watch a movie at home like I did, there tends to be a large amount of distractions from kids, from phones, and just things being injected into the environment that you don't really want if you really want to be immersed into a really good film. I watched this at home and there were lots of distractions. And with a movie like Black Widow, you don't want to have a lot of distractions, and here's why. Two things. First is the pacing. The pacing of the movie was really good, but it starts really fast, to me at least. I almost feel like Marvel can start doing the Netflix thing like with Fear Street. Fear Street, each version or each part that comes on, they have like a recap that tells you, this is what happened in the last film if you've forgotten. I feel like people deserve a refresher at this point. I know that if you pay close enough attention to the dialogue, you can pick up all the different points in time where things are taking place. But if you're watching at home and there are distractions and, again, the kids and this and that, there's going to be issues with people picking up where things happen in the story. And I'm not talking about hardcore MCU fans, I'm talking about general audience people. The second part I say about watching it in a theater is because of the sound. Again, you watching at home, there might be things that are going on in the background that kind of mess with you. You're gonna have to utilize subtitles to catch every single thing. But if you're watching in a theater, it'll be relatively quiet. It'll be surround sound. It'll be better for following along with the story, and again, kind of focusing your attention on the screen to where you won't miss certain things. And again, that option to rewind and catch things is just not there. So all the distractions will have to be isolated in a theater. Again, theater experience would have been really good here. Another thing about the theater experience, I said two things, but this could be a third. The stunt work and fight choreography, I feel like can be appreciated on a small screen, but also much more appreciated on a large screen surround sound. You get to hear all the punches and the impacts of different people being thrown around. It was some really impressive, intense looking fight choreography. You know, we all kind of in recent memory think about John Wick when it comes to fight choreography, and while this wasn't at that level, you know, with the speed and the tactile hand motions and everything, it was very, very brutal and intense, especially the early on stuff. The more the film kind of went on, the less it got into the brutality of some of the moves. Although Red Guardian, he really shined when it came to his brutality and his strength. Wish I could have saw a little bit more of him in the end with the fighting, but still very good, still very intense most of the way through. But as far as the movie goes, this was a very good film. I would have to give it like an 8 out of 10. It did kind of feel long to me, but we are telling the entirety of Natasha Romanoff's story. Like, we're probably not gonna get sequels starring Scarlett Johansson. I just can't really see that working out. They kind of wrapped it up, especially with the end credit scene that was tacked onto the movie. Like, I see a whole bunch of finality in that. I don't see her being able to kind of be brought back around again. Now, maybe you could do one starring the Yelena Belova character, which would be nice, but not Natasha. I think Natasha's done, and, you know, well deserved. She's been around for a while. Good film, very, very good film, very, very entertaining film, but I believe it's one for the theaters. Let me know what you think in the comments. That's all I really have to say about it without getting into spoilers. So enjoy yourself, guard your heart, come back and check out more videos.